the red side, and we're going to talk about Arsenal, who've been tracking their own sort of big money signing, huge money signing for a while now in Julian Alvarez. We've been hearing that he wants to go to Barcelona. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. But is there, like there is with Liverpool and Barcelona, is there a glimmer of hope for Arsenal on this one?
Glimmer, I think, is probably the best way of putting it, because, look, we're being told basically it's up to Julian Alvarez in terms of if he wants to go to Arsenal. Now, obviously, all window long he's had his heart set moving to Barcelona. He even came out during the World Cup, didn't he, and said that he feels like it's the right time to leave Atletico Madrid. Now, he didn't specifically mention Barcelona at the time, but we know that was his intention. The problem is that Atletico do not want to sell, and some people are even telling us they won't sell to Barcelona, which gives him then a choice of staying in that very uncomfortable situation where he's being booed by his own fans and, you know, people within the club necessarily thinking, well, we should just cash in now while we can. Or does he move back to the Premier League and try and do something different at Arsenal? So he's got a difficult 6 days ahead of him. Well, he tries to figure that out.
Thing is, though, from Arsenal's point of view, you know that he wants to go to Barcelona first and foremost. He doesn't desperately want to go to Arsenal. So should they be pursuing him so aggressively, knowing that he'd be second choice? Arsenal would be second choice.
I don't think Arsenal will mind being second choice to Barcelona. I think it'd be different if it was a lesser team, but he's a world-class player. There's not many out there. There's not many players in that position. So, you know, I think if Arsenal do manage, if he did go to Arsenal, I think he'd be going there and be happy and wanting to succeed. So players, like clubs have lists, players will obviously also see who they would rather go to and different options. So if he's not happy and he can't go to Barcelona, I'm sure he'd be delighted to go to Arsenal.
I'm sure Arsenal fans would be keen for that relationship with the Atletico fans to deteriorate a bit more, so his mind gets made up. He could cost Arsenal a huge fee of around £130 million, something like that, which could be similar to what Bradley Barcola costs. Steve, who do you think of those two? Say they're roughly the same fee. Who's the better value?
I'll say Alvarez. I think he was terrific for Man City when he first obviously arrived in England. So he knows what the Premier League's like. He's scored goals in the Premier League. Barcola hasn't. He's probably unknown in the Premier League. So I think Alvarez would be more worth the money. Obviously, a lot of money. 100 million plus seems to be the norm right now. But yeah, I think either of them would be superb. But I think Arsenal, if they manage to get hold of him, would be the player that can really then make them the best club in the country.
And I think even without spending that huge amount of money, Arsenal probably do need to sell one or two players, don't they, before the end of the window. Is Gabriel Martinelli going to be one of those players? Yeah,
almost certainly. Look, the fee's been agreed with Al Hilal. The deal's not far off being done. So they're clearing the decks for someone, right? They're making sure that they've got space in their squad for another star player to come in. Martinelli's obviously had a great run at Arsenal, but is seen as the sacrificial player to make way for that potential star signing. So he's obviously looked very popular with the fans. I'm sure a lot of people would be sad to see him go, but that'd be negated if they go out and sign someone like Julian Alvarez. I think the interesting thing with Alvarez, going back to it, is if he succeeds, let's say, at Arsenal, who's to say in 2 years' time that Barcelona won't come back in for him and we go through this whole saga again? So, you know, it's not as though, you know, Barcelona want to sign the best players in the world, just like Arsenal do. So if he's a success there, he's only 26, it's not going to be the end of his dreams to go play at Camp Nou, is it?
No, but he might be worth 250 million at that stage in a couple of years if he has a good 2 years and wins the league with Arsenal.
Who is coming in and hopefully could have an even bigger representation in the team of the year next year, because we would have retained it? It's Alvarez Daily. You know that, guys. It's Alvarez Daily right now. It's the biggest transfer story in town. Julian Alvarez being linked to either Barcelona or Arsenal. Where is he going to end up? The saga continues. I can't help but talk about it every single day until this transfer window is closed. He still hasn't come out and said anything. He's said to be really upset over the whole saga. Listen, if you come out and say you want to go to Barcelona, you're going to really pee those fans off there in Atletico. It's as simple as that. I saw the ex-players at Dugarry yesterday calling him, ex-French player, calling him an idiot for the way he's gone about doing things. Because he did announce when he was away at the World Cup that he wants to leave to go to Barcelona, and it's not gone down well. Now, are Atletico starting to prepare for life without Julian Alvarez? Because they were looking to sell Alexander Sørloth, their Norwegian striker. From the start of the window, it was said that he was going to be moving on. But looks like at the moment they're considering keeping Sørloth because, they are really in fear that they're going to have to lose Alvarez. And also Fabrizio Romano reporting today that Atletico really interested in signing Jonathan David from Juventus. Jonathan David, he only just moved to Juventus last year from Lille. Remember, he was phenomenal at Lille, but it hasn't worked out for him at Juventus, and Juventus are looking to sell Jonathan David, and Atletico is said to be interested in him. So listen, certainly looks like they are trying to prepare for the fact that they could lose Alvarez before the end of the transfer window. Where is he going to end up? Who knows? But I was looking at the recent history of Atletico when it's come to high-profile players that have wanted to leave for one of their rivals. They don't sell to their rivals. They are really strict on this. Falcao, when he wanted to leave, remember Falcao, the Colombian striker, he wanted to go to Real Madrid. They ended up selling him to Monaco. They said, no, you're not going to Real Madrid. There was Sergio Aguero. I spoke about this a couple of days ago. Aguero had his heart set on Real Madrid. They wanted him. They refused to sell him Atletico Madrid. He went to Manchester City. They had Diego Forlán, who was banging in the goals left, right, and centre for Atletico Madrid. He wanted to go to Real Madrid. They said no. He ended up going to Inter Milan. And Antoine Griezmann, he did go to the club, and it was Barcelona. So he wanted to go to Barcelona. He ended up going to Barcelona, but there's a big, big difference before you say, yeah, what about him? He had a release clause of around about 120 million pounds, I think it was, or was it euros? I think it was pounds. They paid it. Barcelona, they came in, they paid the release clause. So then, Atletico couldn't stand in his way and he joined Barcelona. But as you can see there, with those high-profile players, all strikers, they are very strict. They dig their heels in and they will not sell to their rivals. So it's going to be interesting. He's tried to force the move, Alvarez, but this might backfire on him. And if he does leave, there is a strong chance he could end up for Arsenal. I think it's a 50-50 at the moment.